Today, we're diving into one of the oldest and, frankly, darkest stories we have, the account of Cain and Abel from Genesis chapter 4. And what you're going to see is that this ancient story of the first murder, it's about so much more than just sibling rivalry. It's really a blueprint for how personal anger can spiral out and become cultural violence.
So the story kicks off in what seems like a pretty normal, almost mundane scene. You've got two brothers, a farmer and a shepherd, and they're just bringing the results of their work to God as an act of worship. It's like a picture of routine, everyday devotion.
But that peace, it absolutely shatters. This simple act of worship somehow twists into resentment, then rage, and then, boom, the first murder in human history. A brother is dead, and the very ground is stained with his blood.
And that's the big question here, isn't it? That's what we're going to dig into. How do you get from a simple offering to killing your own brother? What on earth happened in between those two moments? The answer, it turns out, reveals a pattern that is deeply, deeply human.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The catalyst for this whole tragedy was the offerings themselves. To really get why one was accepted and the other was rejected, we've got to look a little closer at the context.
What's so interesting here is how the story is framed. See, back in Genesis 3, the first sin broke that vertical relationship, the one between humanity and God. But here in Genesis 4, we see the inevitable result of that, the first break in the horizontal, human-to-human relationship. The sin is spreading outwards.
And this chart really gets to the heart of the issue. It wasn't about their jobs, farmer versus shepherd, that didn't matter. No, the text hints at a crucial difference in how they gave. Cain brought some fruit, but Abel? He brought the firstborn of his flock, the very best. So the issue wasn't what they gave, it was the posture behind it.
You know, at the end of the day, the offering was just an external symbol of what was happening on the inside. God wasn't rejecting Cain's career choice, he was seeing the posture of Cain's heart. He saw someone giving something but not their best. This story tells us right from the jump, for God, your intention is everything.
So Cain's reaction to his offering being rejected? He gets angry, really angry. But here's the thing. Instead of God bringing down immediate judgment, he actually comes to Cain with a warning, giving him this critical moment to make a choice.
And this is the key question at this moment in the story. Is Cain just a victim of his emotions? Is he doomed to act on his rage? Well, the story's answer to that is a clear and resounding no. He is not powerless at all.
I mean, listen to that line. It's one of the most powerful in the entire narrative. God paints this picture of sin as a predator. It's like a wild animal, crouching, waiting, and it wants you. But the final command is one of empowerment. You must rule over it. Cain is being told point blank, you have a choice to make here.
Tragically, Cain makes the wrong choice. He doesn't master his anger. He lets his anger master him. This leads to the murder, and what follows is this absolutely chilling conversation that shows you just how deep the problem really is.
And you have to notice the parallel here. After the first sin back in Genesis 3, God's question to Adam is, where are you? It's a question about personal accountability to God. But now, after the first sin against another person, the question shifts. It becomes, where's your brother? The focus has moved from our relationship with God to our responsibility for each other.
And there it is, Cain's infamous, defiant response. It's not a real question, is it? It's a total rejection of the very idea of human community. It's the voice of radical individualism that says, I have no obligation to care for anyone else. And the Bible's answer, woven through the whole story, is a resounding yes. Yes, you are.
So Cain's denial, it doesn't work. The ground itself cries out against him, and judgment comes. But then, in this amazing twist, God's judgment gets mixed with this totally unexpected act of mercy.
The punishment is almost poetic, in a terrible way. Cain, the farmer, the one who works the ground, is now cursed from the ground. The very source of his identity and his work now rejects him. He's cut off, forced to wander without a home, a man totally disconnected from his purpose.
But here's the twist. Cain is afraid that as he wanders, someone's going to kill him. So God puts a mark on him. And this is so important. The mark isn't for shame, it's for protection. It's a sign that says, hands off. So even in the face of humanity's worst act, God's mercy carves out a space for life to continue. Judgment and grace, right there, side by side.
Now, the story doesn't just end with Cain. It actually zooms out to show us how one person's sin doesn't stay personal. It plants a seed that grows into an entire culture.
Cain, the wanderer, goes on to build cities, and his descendants, well, they take his legacy to a whole new level. You can really map out the whole trajectory here. It starts inside with some doubt and anger. Then it moves outward, breaking relationships. Then it erupts into actual physical violence. And then, finally, it becomes something to be proud of, a celebrated part of a culture.
And if you want proof, look no further than Cain's descendant, Lamech. This guy brags about killing a man for just wounding him. See, Cain acted out of anger, but Lamech acts out of pure pride. He takes God's promise to protect Cain, and he twists it, multiplying it, boasting that if Cain is avenged 7 times, he'll be avenged 77 times. Violence isn't just a tragedy anymore. Now it's a virtue.
So after this deep dive into a culture of proud violence, you'd think the chapter would just end there, in complete darkness. But it doesn't. The very last verses give us this crucial counter-narrative, this little glimmer of hope.
We learn another son, Seth, is born to Adam and Eve, and his family line represents a totally different path. While Cain's descendants are off building a world defined by their own strength and violence, Seth's line starts a new practice. They begin to call on the name of the Lord.
So by the end of this one chapter, humanity is left with 2 completely different models for how to build a civilization. There's one path, defined by human achievement and power, which escalates into violence. And then there's another path, a path of dependence, of looking outside yourself, of calling on God.
And that leaves us with a final thought, a question that hangs in the air. The line of Cain shows us that progress, building cities, making tools, creating culture, it's not automatically a good thing. This ancient story forces us to ask ourselves, is our progress leading us toward Lamech's boastful violence or toward the humility of calling on a higher name? What exactly are we all building?